Mahiya naman kayo sa inyong kapwa Pilipino.
Pinastos pa nila ako.
For detention on the basis of detention.
And that's the smoking gun ng proceeds of the illegal.
You're a law enforcement, the highest law enforcement official being head of PNP.
Yeah. Truth in the baseline, facts in the cadence. Silent rules, but the message stays stainless. No smoke, no mirrors, no pay for stands. Just power to the people. This is Phil Castro. Type of stay woke, let the truth broadcast. No noise, just signal. Remember that history don't bend to the ones who fast talk. And listen to the ones who think. This is Phil Castro.
Ayun. Hello po, ayan. Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. Naku, ngayon ko lang aayusin 'tong aking setup. Pasensya, ayan. So, maraming salamat po sa lahat po na walang sawang support. Today po pag-uusapan po natin, about the political strategies, yung mga future, probable future steps ni, Vice President, Sara Duterte. Especially napag-usapan na natin at napag-usapan na rin itong nakalipas um, na araw na kung saan po nag-announce siya ng kanyang, um, pagtakbo sa kanyang presidency dito sa Pilipinas. At ano ba ito, anong mga implication nito? Meron ba mga political risk ito? And do you think kakagatin ng tao ito? And would this be, tulad nga ng sinabi ko sa isang podcast, would this be her last hurrah? 'Di ba? Ngayon po for this moment, pinagbigyan po tayo ng pagkakataon po together with Professor um together with UP professor and together with UP Professor Roland Simbulan, bibigyan po natin ng reaksyon at linaw itong mga issue patungkol kay VP Sara. At saglit lang po, ipapatch in ko lang po ang sorry, bagong gising. Sorry. Literal kagigising ko lang like 30 minutes ago. Pero because sabi ko nga sa inyo, one of the challenge sa ginagawa natin, the way our channel works right now, we depend on yung scheduling. And dito pala po 7, meron na ano tayo, napaaga lang po tayo ng gising. Pero hopefully pagpasensyahan nyo na po at kagigising lang. Ayan. Ay, ipapatching ko lang si Prof dito. Saglit lang po. Ayan, 'di ba? Ayan. Hi Alex, Dance. Ayan. Hello po Prof. Lagay ko lang po kayo saglit sa ating saan yan? Okay. Share. Okay. Share window na lang. Share system audio. Ayan. Ayun. Hi Prof, kamusta po?
Ay, okay. Sige. Okay na ba?
Ito, ayan, tingnan natin kung maririnig nila po kayo. Sige, salita lang po kayo. I think Prof, if you don't mind, kasi nakita ko yung post niyo kanina, sinend niyo sa akin, para makita natin kung naririnig ng audience po kayo. Do you mind po explaining a little bit further about po dun sa ano po yung SENPAG at saka yung kung sino din po kayo para sa mga listeners po nating hindi po kayo kilala?
Well, ako si Roland Simbulan. I'm a retired professor from the University of the Philippines, and I am currently chairperson of the Center for people empowerment in governance, which is a public policy think tank, which is already we're already 21 years old. No? I'm the author of several books, at least 10 books on Philippine-U.S. relations, Philippine politics, and also on Philippine foreign policy.
Thank you po, Prof. And also, para po sa lahat po ng ating mga nakikinig po, if ever you have any questions sa ating pag-uusap po, yeah, just put it on our comments down below and we'll try to read it and ask it to Prof. Roland. Prof, ngayon po pag-usapan natin, mainit-init pa, no? Ito pong nangyaring pronouncement ni VP Sara to run as the president dito sa 2028 election. I think my first question po, with this announcement, do you think this is a strategic timing or a necessity for her political career?
I think it's more of a strategy on her part, no? Because she wants to have an early start in campaigning for her presidential bid in 2028. And in Philippine politics, if you are an early starter, you have an advantage because you can already start campaigning even before the official campaign period. So for the elections, no, that's the advantage if you announce early your intention, no. So this means that in surveys you will be ahead of the others because you have already announced your intention to run for a particular public position, unlike the others who are still undecided or have not announced their intention or bid for the election. So if you are an early starter, you have that advantage of being on top of the surveys.
Prof, can we use the analogy po of the former Vice President Jejo Marbinay playbook? Kasi po 'di ba nag-announce siya earlier and then ang nangyari dahil sa pag-announce siya ng sobrang aga, nagamit 'yun ng kalaban niya para bakbakin siya and then apparently after a while nawala, kumbaga siya yung parang sinasabi before that parang undefeated presidential candidate and then nung lumabas po yung mga issue sa Makati, paunti-unti nawala siya sa survey at hindi po siya nanalo. Is there any connection po ba?
Well, that's the risk. That's actually always the risk if you announce your intention early, no, you'll be a target of attacks and criticisms early on, no. However, in this case, it's not the same because she had already an impeachment case against her in the process, no, even before her announcement, di ba? Last year, no, na technical. What happened was that the impeachment process did not push through because of technicalities as ruled by the Philippine Supreme Court, no, due to technicalities. But the issues were already against her on the especially related to corruption even before her announcement for her presidential bid. So it's different from the scenario involving her father in 2016. So ito may impeachment so nasa din, no, it's already in the minds of a lot of Filipinos regarding her impeachment, which she was able to temporarily block because of technicalities.
I see. And I think yun nga po yung parang sinasabi ng mga kritiko niya na parang nagamit niya yung batas for her advantage. And meron po bang connection yung timing ng pag-a-announce niya dito po sa napipintong ICC confirmation of charges kay dating Pangulong Duterte?
Yes, of course, because she can say that her, her yung attacks against her
Mhm.
are really motivated by politics, no?
Mhm.
And she and her family, including her father, are being attacked by their political enemies because of her intention to run
Mhm.
for public office in 2028. At the same time, of course, that's the ICC case. At the same time, sasabihin niya na because of her presidential announcement, to run for president in 2028, she's already being attacked. No? So, yan ang magiging defense, especially during her impeachment trial if it pushes through.
Talaga pong ano 'no, talagang sabi nga natin there's a political strategy behind, especially the timing. Is there a difference po ba pagdating po sa influence naman ng sabihin nating Duterte brand from the 2016 election versus itong paparating na 2028 election po?
Yes, of course. There's the pattern, no?
Mhm.
However, yung ano dito, she begins her presidential bid with a bad record of corruption, no?
Hmm.
Because case already filed against her previously, and which has really been unfinished. No, it was just derailed. No, because
Mhm.
of technicalities.
Mhm.
So the corruption charges against her, which are still unanswered, are still in the minds of many Filipinos. And of course, this is connected also with the recent case of corruption. No,
Mhm.
because if you have a candidate like this, which is already has the burden of corruption cases which have not been resolved,
Mhm.
this will this will still be sticking in the minds of many voters.
Correct.
So that's the burden that she carries in her presidential bid.
Yes, sabi nga po nila talagang, siya po ay, merong political baggage na tinatawag. And what do you think naman po pagdating sa mga boboto naman po dito sa Kamara, sa Kongreso at saka sa Senado? Would this also affect them because of, this early voting para po sa pagboto naman sa impeachment complaint?
Yeah, I think partly it's also meant to try to influence her
Mhm.
case, no, which is a process that begins with the Philippine Congress, no.
Mhm.
Uh, uh, if even one third of the Philippine Congress supports the impeachment complaints against her, that will uh, start the process of impeachment. Now, in Philippine politics, usually the Congress uh, members usually change or switch sides to the party or side of the president, which has the because the president has the biggest pork barrel in Philippine politics. No, so I think she hopes that the majority of the congressmen will be political butterflies and will switch to her side, so that
Mhm.
will derail the impeachment process and complaints against her.
Okay. So magkakaroon po ng effect 'no? And also Prof, yung isa pa po that I'm, curious about po, because we all know then that there is some impending cases that ICC might drop, against, Senator Bato de la Rosa and Senator Bongo. Do you think because of this announcement, there probably a shake-up in the minority? And magkakaroon po ba ng advantage naman po ang majority naman sa Senado with the impeachment?
Well, I think that's also one angle to it, no?
Mhm.
But I think that the majority of the senators, especially under the leadership of Senate President Soto, I
Mhm.
don't think they're going to change their minds at this point, no? Because maybe it will influence only a few, but it's not enough to affect the completion of the impeachment process by the Philippine Senate. No,
Mhm.
so I think so long as the leadership of the Senate is under Senate President Soto, I think they are going to complete the process of impeachment.
Totoo po, Prof. And I remember, if I'm not mistaken, nung una pong tinanong si Senate President SP Soto na about this impeachment trial, he said that he'll gonna do forthwith pagka pumasok to sa Senado tong impeachment trial. And I think makikita natin talaga yung impeachment trial na gumulong talaga sa Senado. What if naman po, Prof? And this is probably just a theory of mine that I thought when I was doing this material. What if naman po? Kasi kunwari, na nakakaramdam na si Vice President Duterte that she would be convicted, and the right recourse for her is to resign in her post. Do you think kapag ka nag-resign siya, would there be an effect on her? And maapektuhan pa rin po ba siya ng conviction if and if it happened?
Yeah, kasi pag nag-resign siya, that will be interpreted as being, practically like an admission of guilt, no?
Mm.
It's her, no? So that she will not have to face the whole process of the impeachment trial.
Mhm.
So that will be interpreted as an admission of guilt.
Mhm.
And maybe that will make the impeachment process easier, and for the Senate as an impeachment court to decide on this impeachment case, which will be forwarded uh, to this Philippine Senate. And so if she's impeached and the decision is final regarding her impeachment by the Senate, she
Mhm.
will be disqualified from running from public office, especially for running for the presidency in 2028.
And even if po na mag-resign siya, then may conviction na a verdict na lumabas po, still it will be on her na ma-impeach siya. Tama po ba?
Yeah, because
Mm.
she will if she's impeached, especially for corruption and betrayal of the public trust. No,
Mhm.
she she uh, she will be disqualified from running from public office. No, in the future. No, and this includes especially for running for president in 2028.
I see. And then also, Prof, with regards naman po sa ating taong bayan, ano, um, would there be um, would there be like an importance naman po pagdating sa uh, public perception versus the legal outcomes nitong impeachment trial ni VP Sara?
Yes, importante yung public perception, because
Mm.
voters are usually influenced by public perceptions, no. So if that narrative persists, no, through which is strengthened by public perception, and that cannot, and if that cannot be demolished, that public perception cannot be demolished, then it will definitely influence the results of the 2028 elections. And especially because now people want to see the head of uh, high public officials to be punished for corruption. I think there's a mood among the people who are Filipino people who are fed up with the cases of corruption. Now, if you imagine if you again elect an official who has just been impeached for corruption to the highest post. No, I think it's like it's suicide, no, for voters to do that because especially voters who are very very fed up with corruption in the Philippine government.
Tama po. Kasi I think with the recent poll na nakita ko po, talagang ang mga tao talaga they wanted people to pay for what they did for this flood control project. Especially now, wala pa pong ganung sabi nga nila big fish na kanilang inaantay for to get like a warrant dito sa flood control project. And Prof, tingin niyo naman po 'no, pagdating naman sa sabihin na nating, opposition, sabihin na nating genuine opposition coming from the Pink, the Dilawan, or a third force na pinag-uusapan din, this past few weeks, bakit po nahihirapan pa din ang, opposition to find a candidate na viable to fight off against, VP Sara?
Well, this is because our politics is still driven by personalities, no.
Correct.
So we are not yet driven by issues, especially national issues. Maybe yung thirst of people to see justice and see accountability, maybe that can also become a strong issue because it affects a lot of people. People are dying and are really suffering because of the corruption in the government. So now that they can feel the effect of corruption directly on them and their lives, no, that will be enough to compel them to vote against corrupt officials or against electing corrupt officials into the highest positions in the Philippines.
Tama po. Lagi nila sinasabi there's like a gut issue na ika nga malapit po sa karamihan, especially kapag ito ay maapektuhan ng kanilang pamilya or araw-araw nilang pangkabuhayan. And another thing na lumalabas din po ngayon na pag-uusapan, yung tinatawag na third force or Trojan horse. Kasi daw po nung panahon ni Pinoy at ni former President Duterte, when it comes to election, walang nag-akala that they will actually be the presidential candidate. Do you think that there might be or meron tayong inaasahan by next year when they started filing their COC na maaari tayo makakita ng third force?
Yes, merong mga ilang personalities identified with the opposition who have shown themselves to be consistently anti-corruption and consistently supporting issues that are important to the Filipino people. These personalities can be effectively leaders as parts of the united opposition to defeat the Dutertes, no? Because the Dutertes are relying merely on a cult, no? It's like a cult, the Duterte cult from Mindanao. But this cult is identified with corruption and also with injustice and impunity, maybe that cult can be defeated by people who can rely on their track record and consistency in public service, and will be enough to defeat those candidates which are identified with corruption and with impunity, related to these extrajudicial killings and impunity in corruption. So we have these personalities. Their track record by itself speaks as a strong message to the people. And if they will be united, I think they can beat the Duterte cult.
Prof, personally, do you have something in mind po na maaari na maging main candidate ng third force so far sa nakikita nyo po?
Yeah, maraming kasi I think malakas pa rin yung influence ni former Vice President Leni Robredo, Leni Robredo, who became mayor of Naga City. Tapos nandiyan ding meron ding mga siya, mga second liners, like si Senator Risa Hontiveros, Tapos of course yung nandiyan din si yung high profile ngayon sa Senate, at very popular among Gen Zs, tsaka millennials, yung si Senator Bam Aquino. To mention also si Vico Soto, Mayor Vico Soto of Pasig, mga ito mga strong contenders, and if you could if only kung ma-unite ang mga ito, tapos they could pull their support together, they can beat the Duterte cult, in 2028. And even local elections, I think kung magpuput up ng candidates ng mga Dutertes, they can have candidates that can defeat the Dutertes in 2028.
That's a good point po kasi talagang there's a lot of talks na po talaga that they're trying to get away from yung normal partisanship na mga kandidato and go further probably sa local election to pick up these viable candidates. Prof, we're also talking about geographic. Do you think, or what do you feel about the decisiveness naman po of the Visayas and the Mindanao block? Kasi ito yung pinagmamalaki ng mga DDS na sinasabi nila that because of this, Sara will actually win and nobody can compete with her.
Well, not necessarily, because hindi na ganun ka yung geographic yung geography, tsaka yung demographics. Ang important dito yung yung age, the age of voters, especially which is dominated now by more idealistic electorate, especially yung Gen Zs and the millennials, In the past two elections, especially yung midterm election, makikita yung yung power of the Gen Zs and the millennial voters. And this is not this is beyond the geography, and itong mga voters na ito, they make up practically 2/3 of the entire Philippine electorate, Now if these people from Gen Zs and electorate will support a candidate whom they think will be able to fix the problems of the Philippines, especially corruption. Kasi itong voters na ito, talagang strong ang anti-corruption sentiment nila, no? I think they can have their candidate win in 2028. Not just national elections, but even local elections in the Philippines.
Yes, and also, Prof, I would like to ask your reaction po kasi one of the interviews ni um, Lito Manayo, ito po yung campaign strategist ni PRRD at alam naman natin nanalo siya at that time. Ang sabi niya po doon sa isang interview niya, sabi niya with regards to voting sa present voting po, ang Mega Manila, they usually vote regarding sa presidential election pagdating sa survey or kung sino na ang napipintong mananalo dito sa election. Do you think po because of these changes in politics, pag-announce ni VP Sara Duterte, do you think that there will be a different dynamics with this 2028 election with the Mega Manila voters?
Hindi as I said, itong geography, no, itong demographics ng mga voters, I think this will be overcome by the strength of the millennials, no, and the Gen Zs, no, are spread all over the country, especially in both rich provinces, in Luzon, no, Metro Manila, tapos Central Visayas, no, yan yung both rich provinces, no. I think yan ang magdo-dominate rather than yung ng traditional geography. So I don't Lito Benayo on his prediction. Itong prediction niya kasi based on the past. But that's the past, no? Meron ng parang natuto na rin yung maraming Gen Zs and millennials, and they're more idealistic, and I don't think money politics, the traditional money politics, including machinery, etc., will affect their voting pattern and sentiment. I think they're going to vote for the right people whom they believe will fix and help curb corruption in the Philippines and move the Philippines towards the road of modernization and development.
Yeah, and I think talaga po no malaki yung epekto ng mga Gen Zs right now sa ating electorate. Prof, another live question po ito. Sinend lang po sa atin sa Facebook Messenger. Ang sabi po, kaibigan po natin ito from America po. Sabi niya po dito, gusto niya po itanong sa inyo, dahil po nagsasalita na ngayon si yung mga supporter po, mga DDS kay VP Sara, that they're trying to imply na ang magiging tandem daw po ng kanilang grupo is VP Sara Duterte and Senator Amy Marcos. Do you think at this moment in time, there's a appetite for the taong bayan na magsimulan tumingin po sa babaeng kandidato for the president and the vice president?
Well, kung ganun ang iniisip nilang tandem, I think they will be mistaken because yung ganyang tandem parang magiging unit team 0.2 yan eh. No? Ito nga, how because they were not reuniting because of principles or issues, no? They were just to look after their interests, no? To be winnable, no? So I think the voters will see through this, and as I said, parang uulitin mo na naman itong unit team strategy, no? siguro nagtagumpay noon, pero nakita ngayon na since it's not driven by issues or the national or the public interest, but driven by the personal interest of the two candidates, matatalo yan, no? Kasi ano lang yan, unity point 2, no? And that will not win anymore. So hindi nakakagat sa mga botante natin.
At saka Prof, ano din po no, I don't know if we're on the same page on this one. Ang tingin ko po kasi kung mangyari yung ganung tandem na Uniteam 2.0, I think po magiging disadvantage yun kay Sara kasi hindi na po parang nasira na po yung connection ni Amy doon sa loyalist voting block after niya magsalita doon sa INC rally about kay President Bongbong Marcos about sa pagiging drug addict. And I think na since then, for me, I think it's a political suicide na kung sinong didikit kay Amy is that's the end of of their political life.
Yeah, kasi Amy is seen as an opportunist. Kasi sa Philippines parang it works against our culture kasi to betray your own family, no? Yung family that you have whose name you have used for a long time and even to win previously in Philippine politics, no? Malaking kasalanan sa mga Filipino voters, no? And will you trust somebody who will even betray his own family like that, no? Tapos go to the other side, no? So magiging added magiging disadvantage doon sa team if that will happen. And I hope personally that will happen so that that will spell their defeat in the 2028 elections.
Totoo po. And I think yung ginawa niya po is an example of attacking the Filipino culture.
Yes.
With regards to family.
Yeah. Oo.
Totoo po yan. And I guess, Prof, last question na lang po. And for everyone, maraming salamat po sa mga nanonood sa atin today. Last question po. In this upcoming 2028 election, what do you think is the ultimate na pwedeng gamitin ng kahit sinong kandidato na maaaring tumakbo dito sa election na to? Do you think they need to use their own personality, their political machinery, or mag-focus sila sa national issue?
Dapat mag-focus na sa national issues kasi itong dating political machinery, no, personalities, ano na yan that is what led to very corrupt politicians being put in public office, no. Dapat na yung sa national issues na kasi we have so many problems that affect the Filipino people, especially poverty. Tapos yung we are being left behind in Southeast Asia by our neighbors, no, because they have embarked on good governance and also on modernizing their societies, no. So lalo na yung sa anti-poverty I think very important yun, no, yung anti-poverty programs which should improve the lives of most Filipinos, no. It's about time that we did that so that Filipinos will not be opting to put their future on going to leaving the Philippines and going to other countries, no. It's about time that we did something for this country and to fix our problems ourselves, no, by electing the right political leaders in public office.
Totoo po. And for that, maraming salamat po, Prof. Roland. Sana po makita tayo ulit next time. Ganda po ng kwentuhan. I'm always taking notes.
Thank you also for having me. Thank you.
No problem po. Thank you po, Prof. Roland.
Okay.
Thank you po. Ayun, ayan. So, guys, sorry, yung buhok ko kasi nakatayo. Napansin ng ating isang viewer. Ayan, guys, so I'll try my best na siguro kung habang nandito tayo sa live, may mga question kasi dito. Before I end my before I end our live today, yan, kasi maraming nagre-request sa akin kung pupuwede daw pong Q&A tayo pagtapos ng interview natin. Actually puwede naman. Puwede naman tayong mag-Q&A, saglit lang. Ayan, but before anything else, makikisuyo na lang din po 'no. You can see here, ayan, sa side na 'to yung QR code. So scan it so you can share, like, and subscribe sa ating iba pang YouTube platform. And also, one of the things that I learned before we go over with our topic is that para daw po pala matulungan niyo ang ating channel sa algorithm ni YouTube, kailangan daw po pala nila-like niyo yung mga video para daw po mai-she-share ni YouTube itong yung mga videos natin sa iba't ibang platform na kung saan po kayo pumupunta. It's an algorithm way ng YouTube to get more connected to other people. So, take a picture of it, and also itong channel natin, share, like, and subscribe na rin, especially itong video na to. So, there are certain questions kanina na magandang sagutin. One is, sabi dito ni Kuya Alex, sabi niya dito, I cannot understand why Sarah can be a blind, ano to? Oh, yung supporter niya, if they are a blind supporter or they have a cult mentality. Para sa akin, it's a cult mentality. Kasi isa sa mga red flags na nakita natin sa isang kulto is that whatever the leader said to their followers, they do it. One of the core principle of it is having a blind perception of reality. Ang nakikita natin isang sign doon is yung mga videos na yung mga supporter niya bumibili ng literal na karton na nandun yung mukha ni Duterte. And one of the videos that I saw was there's a winter storm sa Netherlands, and then yung karton na figura ni President Duterte was there sitting, at nakikita mo yung snow, tapos nandun yung mga pagkain, parang nakikikain siya doon sa kanila, and then they're wiping his face habang may winter storm. And para sa akin, that is way off being a realistic type of supporter, ika nga. 'Di ba? Kasi para sa akin lumalagay parang sinasamba nila si Duterte on that same ideal, 'di ba? There's another also issue that I saw this video na they are looking doon sa picture ni former President Duterte, and they are crying, and some of them are actually praying in front of him na para bang siya yung santo. 'Di ba? Parang it's way off a regular supporter. And I would say hindi na nga fanatics itong mga to They went higher doon sa bar of following a personality. Kaya yung sinasabi ni Prof kanina, being a cult-like supporter, dito na natin makikita na para bang, okay, parang way off na in reality, 'di ba? At tinanong niya rin dito, 30 years daw bago maayos ang Pilipinas. Tama yung sinabi ni Densable dito kay Sir Alex. It's that perception yan Ako, naniniwala ako, even if you guys remember, nung panahon ni Pinoy, there's a lot of people were saying na after PGMA, hindi na aakyat ang antas ng pamumuhay ng Pilipino. Hindi magbabago ang antas ng pamumuhay ng Pilipino kasi nga ang sabi nila is PGMA is an economist. She knows how money works. She knows how the government system works. Pero because of a lot of corruption, parang maraming kritiko na umupo si Pinoy because hindi siya kilala, hindi niya masosolve yung mga issues nating national. Pero nakita natin, when he became the president, maraming mga good green flags na nakita natin na actually help the country. Like yung Moody's perception, yung nagkaroon tayo ng high rating of Moody 'di ba? Na yung Moody na yon nagamit ng Pilipinas to actually lower the interest rate ng utang natin at mabayaran pa natin ng mabilis yung utang nating pambansa. At dahil din dito, nakita natin that the Pinoy have actually savings amount na inilaan niya sa susunod na uupong presidente, which is former President Duterte. Kaya po napansin nyo, nung 2016 election, ang isa sa mga binato sa kanya ni VP Jejo Marbinay is that masyado siya nag-iipon ng pera. Pero kung makikita nyo po, as former Secretary Abad said before, kaya po sila nag-impok ng pera from the presidency is para po magkaroon ng paunang pondo ang susunod na uupong administrasyon kung ano pa man po ang mangyari. Kasi remember, yung pondo sa unang taon, kung sino man po ang uupong presidente, yung kanilang pondo ay nakabase sa kung anong projected plan ng previous administration. Kung wala silang additional na cushion sa pondo nilang pambansa, 'di ba? Tulad ng ginawa ni Pinoy to the Duterte administration, mahirapan pondohan, 'di ba? For the first few years ng pag-upo ni Pangulong Duterte. And then ano pa ba dito? Ay, Anthony Lim, hello po, hello. Ayun. So, ayun, natunghayan natin si Professor Roland Simbulan, retired UP professor. And naisiwalat niya doon na pag-usapan natin yung mga political strategies. I think my main takeaways dito is one, there is really an effect on the early announcement of VP Sara to be the president. One of which is yung impending impeachment issue ni VP Sara. Yung numbers sa Senado, maaring magbago yon. Public perception. Maaring magbago yung public perception pagdating sa impeachment kasi may mga nagsasabi, oh, you're using this impeachment trial para hindi makatakbo si VP Sara or you're using it against the Duterte. 'Di ba? Pwede magamit yung mga DDS or on the other way around, pwedeng magamit naman iyon ng mga kritiko ng mga Duterte na dito niyo makikita that Dutertes have a political baggage at hindi na sila kailangan makabalik sa kanilang posisyon. Another takeaway na nabasa ko kay Professor Roland is yung timing nitong pag-announce ng bid ni Vice President Sara Duterte, in which dito natin makikita yung mga paru-paro G, 'di ba? Naalala niyo yan noong 2022 election na yung mga paru-paro G patalon-talon sila ng political alliances. At siguro dito natin makikita yung crackdown ng political alliances. Kasi remember guys, the president and the vice president is not coming from two different parties kumpara doon sa previous na nakita natin. And if you check this gameplay, etong playbook na nakikita natin ngayon, this is a different one kumpara sa playbook before kay Duterte at saka kay Leni. Duterte and Leni is on a different political parties. Nung naging presidente, people will understand na magkakaroon ng girian, magkakaroon ng issue. Nitong nagkaroon ng unity team coming from a unified campaign party, nobody even thought na magkakaroon ng bulilyaso sa partido nila. And you can see here na ako personally, nagulat din ako na nagkaroon ng crack first year lang. I think first or second year pa lang ng pagkapangulo ni PBBM. And dito natin nakita na wala talaga forever pagdating sa political party, and a lot of people were saying that the political party was made due to convenience politically. Wala talagang same principle sa politika, wala talaga silang iniisip about governance. Everything is about convenience. So, dito natin makikita yung mga paro-paro G lalabas, another thing na makikita natin dito, because impeachment battle is highly politicized and highly political, kasi that's how the Constitution work. It's a numbers game, and because of that number, magkakaroon ng traction after itong presidential bid ni Vice President Duterte, kung ano mangyayari dito sa um, impeachment trial. Ang question lang is this: sino-sino ang maaring hindi pumirma o pumirma sa Kamara first, sa Kamara muna dito sa impeachment trial, kasi may lumulutang na mga issue na that this impeachment article will not even have a sufficient number for a one-third vote para ito ay matransmit from Kamara to Senate. Pero marami din nagsasabi they have the numbers, so we don't know. Sa Senado naman, because of this impending warrant of arrest sa dalawang minority bloc, si Senator Bongo at si Senator Bongo at saka Senator Bato de la Rosa, there is this thinking na maaring lumiit yung numero ng minority bloc dito sa Senado na maaring maging epekto ng pag-i-impeach kay VP Sara Duterte. But we still don't know. Kasi guys, remember ha, kahit naman kay former President Duterte, ICC do not want to make their warrant of arrest public. Para ano? For them to avoid na umalis or hindi magpakita itong mga aarestuhin nila. So that's that's one of the issues that people are thinking about this issue. Another thing na nakita natin is that we still have a bigger issue pagdating sa sino ba ang magiging kandidato ng unified opposition. Ako, para sa akin, unified opposition is not only coming from the Dilawan, the Pink, or the administration. Kasi sino ba ngayon na nakaupo sa administration? 'Di ba si Pangulong Bongbong Marcos? If you're gonna play by the rules, kung ang Pinklawan or Dilawan makipag-connect sa loyalista, which is headed by President Bongbong Marcos, hindi na siya matatawag na opposition kasi they're unifying with the administration. What I think is this: the Trojan horse or the third force na makikita natin, this might come from a different sector of politics. Ibig sabihin, hindi siya maaring manggaling sa malalaki o sa naglalakiang political party. Maaring parang the Duterte playbook. He came from a smaller political party, 'di ba? Or sabihin na natin yung playbook naman ni VP Sara Duterte coming from Hugpong, which is a local party. Tapos nakipag-alyansa sila from if I'm not mistaken, Lakas party ni Speaker Romualdez and PGMA. Kaya siya nakatakbo as VP dati. So I feel na ang third force or yung Trojan horse o yung candidate na maaring lumaban kay VP Sara ay manggagaling sa mas maliit na political party. Tapos ma-acquire na lang na unified party. Kasi alam mo, tingin ko marami pang pwede mangyari. And I think mai-intensify ito by optics kung ano ang mangyayari dito sa election. And also, lastly, sabi din ni Prof dito, yung about sa kapangyarihan ng public perception. Guys, tandaan nyo po, even in different kind of vlogging, makikita nyo po that public perception o yung trial by publicity na tinatawag, napaka-powerful. Especially kapag yung mga political issue na malaki yung epekto sa, sabihin nating, sikmura ng taong bayan. Pagka nagkakaroon ng public perception about this big political issues, for instance, ang bilis itong namamagnify sa utak ng publiko. Ang bilis nito na nakaka-catch up ng taong bayan. Na para bang, oo nga, di ba? Ganun si ganito, ganyan si ganyan. Kasi, I think napag-usapan natin ito before sa isa kong live podcast, na kapag ka malapit sa sikmura ng taong bayan, madali siyang na-acquire, madali siyang na-accept, and there is a growing appetite sa ating taong bayan to sabihin na natin first makisawsaw sa issue at paniwalaan itong mga binabatong issue sa ating mga politiko. Kaya nagiging parang nagiging Bible truth ika nga. lalo na sa mga kalimitan ng ating mga taong bayan na especially hindi naman masyado nagre-research kung ano talaga nangyayari sa politics, but they go over with what the people's perception are. Ayan. Sabi ni Rudy po, you're describing someone called a generational candidate. Good luck searching for the third as it is well, alam mo Rudy po, ako tingin ko lang, nagiging ano lang tayo, parang nagkakaroon tayo ng perception sa presidency na parang madali natin makukuha yung presidente na magiging kandidato that will fight off Sara Duterte kasi nga maaga siya nagsabi ng kanyang candidacy. Pero I think kapag kami may nagsimula na rin mag-announce ng other candidates and then natapos tong impeachment trial, I really believe that there is still an appetite for other candidates. There probably a different perception ng taong bayan sa kung sino man ang paparating na panibagong kandidato. Kasi lahat naman po tayo on the very start, we know that she is running for presidency. So hindi na siya bago para sa atin. I think lang ang magbabago lang dito, sino yung pwedeng pantapat sa kanya? 'Di ba? Would it be still coming from the sabihin na nating party of Dilawan, Loyalista, or the Pink Lawan? Or, di ba no, another party na pwede natin makita? Well, let's see. Di ba? Lahat naman, makikita natin kung ano mangyari in the future. Wala naman nakaka-predict kung meron talaga tayong makikitang generational candidate. Wala tayong kahit even do sa panahon ni Pinoy, example, kung makikita ninyo, one of the biggest issue that happened kaya talaga nagpropel si former Pinoy sa candidacy niya bilang presidency is because nung namatay yung nanay niya. There's a outpouring of emotions, support na rin kay Pinoy at that time. And sabi nga 'di ba nung karamihan nung time na yon bago mamatay si President Cory, Manny Villar was actually eyeing for the spot. Nakita natin from the survey, a lot of people were eyeing also for him. Marami back up sa kanya ng mga business people for his presidency. But after President Cory died, lahat nag-shift Nobody even know. At nakita natin from, I think, if I'm not mistaken, when I was checking on the survey at that time, Pinoy was being a candidate, I think 5th or 6th ang rank niya. But after Cory died, nakita natin he was propelled from 2nd to the 1st spot ng mga survey firms before nung election. Kaya I think there's a possibility, a probability ika nga na mangyayari ako para sa akin presidency is a destiny. Just like what happened kay Pinoy nung namatay nanay niya. Just what happened kay Duterte. Kasi para sa akin, Duterte is a change candidate na parang hindi tayo nakahanap ng politically correct na kandidato I think former President Duterte he did went over the fence ng pagiging politically correct na tao. Talagang yung pagmumura niya, yung actingan niya, strongman attitude niya bilang president. Doon tayo nag-shift And I think when Bongbong Marcos came to play, nakita natin not just because of the support, ang tingin ko diyan, it's mostly yung sinasabi mo nga Rudy po na parang I think it's mostly generational candidate kasi walang nakapredict that Bongbong Marcos will actually come back and return to Malacanang because of what happened doon sa tatay niya, 'di ba? Pero nakabalik siya. Even if marami nagsasabi, well, because of the Duterte. Correct, there is. Pero alam naman natin kung hindi rin lang naman sa kagustuhan ng mga tao na makabalik din ang mga Marcos from Malacanang, I don't think na magiging president si Bongbong Marcos just because of the Duterte. Kasi alam naman natin that the Dutertes nung 2022 election, marami na nagfo-float dito sa issue ng EJK. So there's a political baggage. So hindi lang natin, tingin ko, hindi lang natin yun ma-distinguish just because of the support from the Duterte. Ayun. So I think there is still a question kung sino yung magiging Trojan horse na tinatawag, or sabi nga ni Rudy po na magiging generational candidate. Yes, it's hard, pero para sa akin kasi mas gusto ko na ang lalabas na maaring lumaban kay VP Sara for presidency. Gusto ko yung tipong hindi natin inaakala, 'di ba? Yung darating na lang bigla. Kasi mas gusto ko yung how can I say it? Fresh mind, fresh thinking kung paano patatakbuhin ang gobyerno. Kasi tingnan niyo po 'to. When PGMA came to play, ano ang focus niya? Economy. Kasi ekonomista siya eh. Mostly nag-focus siya sa economy. Pumasok si Pinoy, nag-focus siya saan? Sa pananalapi ng ating gobyerno. He focused more on savings. He focused more on international ratings ng bansa natin, how we project on the international community, yung pagbaba ng interest ng utang natin, 'di ba? Yun yung finocus niya. Pumasok si Duterte, law and order. So, ito naman pumasok si Marcos, nakikita natin yung push niya about agriculture, 'di ba? Yung pag-push ng yung Nutriban nga, 'di ba? Yung naging issue before. Yung good governance, nakikita natin 'yan. And I think that's what I'm looking for, a new set of eyes sa bagong kandidato, yung generational candidate nga na tinatawag mo, na I'm looking for a different perspective. How we can run a good governance campaign sa gobyerno na to, sa susunod na kandidato. Gagamitin ba yung playbook ni Pinoy, kung walang kurap, walang mahirap, or daang matuwid, o yung strict law and order ni Pangulong Duterte, or the negotiating tactics na ginagawa ngayon ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos? So we don't know what's gonna play a role dito sa susunod na kandidato. Pero everything is it's in a futuristic way, diba? Ayun. So guys, maraming marami pang mangyayari, 'di ba? Sa susunod na kabanata, Well, we will still talk about these issues, at marami pa po tayong pag-usapan. Again, scan this QR code here para po ma-follow nyo kami sa iba pa naming social media platform, and dito sa live natin, don't forget to share and like and subscribe sa ating YouTube channel. Yun po. So maraming salamat po. And also, sa inyo pong lahat, thank you po sa walang sawang support, and makita-kita tayo sa susunod nating live. God bless po sa inyong lahat po. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah. Truth in the baseline, facts in the cadence. Silent rules, but the message stays stainless. No smoke, no mirrors, no pay for stands. Just power to the people. This is Phil Castro. Type of stay woke, let the truth broadcast. No noise, just signal. Remember that history don't bend to the ones who fast talk, and listen to the ones who think. This is Phil Castro.